Fran Strine, brother. What's going on, man?
You know it, man. How you doing?
Good, man. You're making your return to the show. This is cool.
Well, thanks for having me again. A
I
lot of
got you.
fun, man. Yeah, you do your homework, dude. I enjoy watching your show.
Oh, that means a lot, dude.
Yeah, I just watched your Rich Ward episode from the record shop, and it was so cool and informative. And I love what you guys are doing for the community and that whole feel. It's a good feeling, man.
Yes. I mean, Rich Ward called me a few weeks before that interview and was talking about the whole community and trying to get involved and having these meetups for Guardians of the Jukebox, Suck Mojo, just having that kind of that scene where people can get together.
Right.
So I thought it was really cool. We need to get you a part of it, man.
Hey, man, I'll be in Atlanta. Actually, I'm going to Atlanta Monday for a week.
Oh, no way. What part?
Yeah.
Just Atlanta?
My mother's not doing so well. I had to put her in assisted living, so she's
Oh,
in
I'm sorry.
the Duluth, Doraville area. So I'll most likely be staying there while I'm helping her out a little bit.
We definitely need to meet up sometime.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah.
So, man, you're coming back to the show, but you have your own new show that's coming out soon.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
First call.
First call.
Yeah.
You sent me like a promo, and I was like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
It reminds me of your documentary, Hired Gun. Is this kind of like a spinoff of that?
Not really. So, if you want to know a little bit of background on the story of this one,
yes.
I was in the middle of doing a Shania Twain documentary, and through no fault of my own or anybody else's, it just kind of went away. After a year of development and shooting and being with her for all that time. Anyway, I was at dinner, and I get an email while I'm sitting in my car warming it up, and I read it, and it's this beautiful email from this guy praising Hired Gun, that he's watched it a dozen times. His family loves it. And he's like, we should meet up sometime. I'd love to take you to breakfast or whatnot. And the signature, his name was Ben Feigen. And Ben is the creative genius and executive producer of Schitt's Creek.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this meeting. I'd be a fool.
Yeah.
So I wrote him back an email. I was like, man, thank you for those kind words. Absolutely. I'd love to meet you up. And my phone number was on my signature, and he just called me right away. He's like, what are you doing right now? I'm just chilling out, man. Figure out my next move because this one's gone. He goes, why don't we meet up? So we did. That was about a 7 or 8 hour breakfast,
Jeez.
And he asked me what my follow-up was. Have you ever thought about doing a Hired Gun part 2? I'm like, not really. I've already made that movie, So we came up with this cool idea, and developed it together. And so basically it's more of, I don't want to say upper echelon musicians, because all these musicians in Hired Gun and First Call are just amazing.
Right.
But we're talking more of, the Pinks of the world, which she is in Hired Gun with her band. But, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Camila Cabello, Bon Jovi, Phil X is in this show as well. Oh, yeah. Totally different spin on it though. And Chris Johnson, who's now with Sabrina Carpenter, the biggest thing on the planet. And my dear friend Tanya Callahan, who played in Whitesnake, Dee Snider's band, and all of a sudden, man, she calls me. She goes, "What are you doing tomorrow night?" Nothing. Why? Bruce Dickinson's doing a secret show at the Whiskey, and I'm playing with him. I'm like, I am there. So I got to see Bruce Dickinson in front of maybe 300 people, man, just slaying. It was great. So it's all their stories collected in this wonderful piece about what they do when they're not on the road. How do they survive? What is their family lives like? What is the stress like? Really an eye opener.
Yeah, especially when you get older, because you always think like when you're young artists, like you always hear like we're always listening to documentaries and stuff. Are like, oh, I live with my parents, and I mean, until I was in my 30s. But what do you do when you're older? And that's a great call.
Not even when they're older, when they get off the road, because very little of these guys get retainers. Yeah, there's people you and I know that had to fall back to construction or painting houses and stuff like that.
Oh, that's so common. I was talking to Christian from Lines at the Gate and El Nino, and and he went back to and do the side jobs between making albums. You just got to do
Yeah.
what you got to do.
You know, what's funny, you bring him up. I think the last time I was on the show, I had a bunch of DV tapes that I was digitizing,
Right.
hundreds of them, probably 500-600 tapes.
Whoa.
And I was a camera operator, like a behind the scenes camera operator on El Nino's very first music video. We shot in Times Square, New York at this theater. Not sure what the name of it was, but man, it was wild. And and I had never heard anything like it before. Maybe Sepultura a little bit, but they were on fire. Mark Rizzo was in the
Yeah,
band.
dude. I've had him at the house. So you were
Yeah.
there back then when that happened? That's cool.
Oh yeah, I was working for the record label for Roadrunner shooting a bunch of the footage.
Oh, yeah. You have so much stories, man. You just scratch
Yeah,
the surface. You get that. We could talk forever.
right.
I love the Roadrunner. The album they made. I think we talked about it when they just had all their artists on the record label just make one
Oh,
album.
their 25th
United,
anniversary. Yeah.
something like that. Yeah,
I
that's
was
really cool.
I was in New York, man. I was working with Disturbed at the time, and we had a day off in New York. And that's when Roadrunner put the 25th anniversary show on. It was, oh my God, all the guys from Slipknot, Machine Head,
Yeah.
Tim Ripper Owens, he sang Abigail by Merciful Fate with Phil Demmel and Joey Jordison on drums. It was insane, man. I've got those photos somewhere too. I'll
Oh,
be
that's
sharing.
so cool.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever been like that, done like that before, and documented so well.
Oh
Did
man.
you have a relationship with Monty Connors, the Roadrunner guy?
Oh yeah, I met him a bunch of times. Yeah, I used to go to the Roadrunner offices constantly when I was in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I made friends with all those guys. Ron
So,
Berman, who signed, Double Drive and Nickelback and all those guys.
man, everyone says they're the Forrest Gump of metal and music or whatever. You are the Forrest Gump of music, dude. You've been everywhere.
Right time, right place, man. Really.
So when's the show gonna start? First call.
We're hoping to launch it in the spring. Right now we're
Okay.
in post-production on it. Yeah.
Are you guys gonna do like a whole bunch of episodes, or
Oh
so you
yeah.
just have them all like season one's done kind of thing?
I think we're going to do 8 episodes per season.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So how much traveling is involved doing the show? I mean,
Not much. We did all these interviews about 1.5 years ago, and I've just been kind of sitting on it, And I was thinking about taking it to a network or whatnot, but the music licensing is just so ridiculously expensive.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own and figure a way to do it. So that's what we're doing.
It is so well done.
Thank you.
When are you going to start kind of showing off what you showed me, like a trailer of what's to come?
You're welcome to tag it on the end of this interview if you want.
It is really good.
I'd love for you to tag it at the end of this interview.
Absolutely.
If there's a way to do that, yeah.
Now, are you involved with all the editing and just like what parts are you involved with the show, with your partners and everything?
I directed it first of all,
Yeah.
produced it along with my late partner Ben Feigen. Unfortunately, he passed away. Soon as it was awful, man. He was such a sweet guy and a huge believer.
Tragic accident or something?
No, you know what was funny, when we had our first meeting, he was complaining his back was hurting and that he had a MRI done and he had to go get some results back. And he had, what was it? Pancreatic cancer.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we became super tight, super quick. I'd go to his house. The guy loved fried chicken. So we'd have meetings.
Man?
Yeah. So we'd have meetings at his house, every week. So I'd drive out there and I'd stop, get some, fried chicken for him. And we just down it and talk shop, man. He was so smart, man. And just on top of it, you don't get to where he was by not knowing not knowing what time it was.
Yeah, and man, that sucks, man. That's tragic.
Yeah,
it was
awful, man. Yeah, I'll never forget. I was walking Bolt at my office in Santa Monica, and I missed his phone call. It was on a Monday, and I just sent him a text. I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm back at my desk if you want to reach out to me."
Mm-hmm.
And at about 7:30 that night, his wife called me, and told me they had passed that afternoon. It was gut wrenching.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So this show is also a tribute to him. You know, he was so instrumental in all this.
do you have a lot of footage of him doing the show, like a lot of behind the scenes kind of thing?
With him?
Yeah, or
No.
that's too far behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He never went on camera. No, no.
So what can you talk about the first few the episodes that you guys filmed and recorded? Can you talk about who's going to be on the show coming up?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think episode 1 is going to be a guy named Johnny Good with
Oh
3
yeah.
O's. Johnny Good. He is currently the bass player for Lady Gaga. We actually spoke on the phone yesterday for about an hour because they shut down Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and Gaga played the night before. They pre-taped it. And he's a huge Pittsburgh Steeler fan. He's from Pittsburgh, and he's like,
Oh,
man, I got Terry Bradshaw to come over and sign my bass. I'm like, you're kidding, because I'm a huge Steeler fan too.
really? I'm not a
Oh,
football
yeah.
fan, but people love that team. You know, I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
Bones loves them too. Everybody
Bones
loves it.
love it. Bones and I used to go watch the games together every Sunday.
Right.
But anyway, Johnny Good, man, he's only like 33, I think, or 34. He's a young guy. But he started off as a police officer in Pittsburgh. His whole family were law enforcement. And that's just the road he, it's like, I got to become a cop, just like the family.
Wow.
And he was probably, I think he was the youngest cop to graduate from police academy. And he was out doing his first night actually on the streets. He rolled up to a Walgreens and there was a kid that was shot in the stomach.
Mm.
And he's like, man, I'm too young to see this right now, and he'd been playing bass since he was like 18. He picked up a $50 bass at a pawn shop and just taught himself. And he drove to Los Angeles and he was in Guitar Center playing a bass he couldn't afford, just noodling around. This guy walks and he goes, man, you're really good. And you look cool. Cause he's a cool looking dude.
Right.
On top of it, he goes, who are you playing with? He goes, nobody, man. I just moved here. So I'm looking for a gig. He goes, well, I'm the musical director for The Weekend and we're looking for a bass player. I don't even need to
Wow.
audition
It
you.
just drops in his lap, just like, yeah.
Just like that. Yeah. And and then one thing a lot of people don't know, unless they've watched Hired Guns, these guys, they make a decent salary, but when they're not touring, they're not making money. So The Weekend's on, he only does like 8-9 weeks because he doesn't need to tour for 9 months out of the year.
Right. Yeah.
And Johnny became homeless and was sleeping in his car. And by this point, he was all over the internet, IG, YouTube, just playing. And he said he was sleeping in his car and he gets a knock on the window. This is tatted up guy. His name's Tim Stewart, by the way. And Tim was a musical director for Lady Gaga. And they were in desperate need of a bass player. And they're like, we already know who you are. You don't need to audition. Are you in? He goes, 100%. Pack your shit. Friday, we're leaving. I forget where they were playing at, but he's like, we're playing the Super Bowl.
Oh my
That
God.
was his first gig, the halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Oh, man.
So it's just stories like that, man. And plus what he's doing off the road, because he's not making retainer.
Yeah.
So when he's done with Gaga, she doesn't tour that much. She's out making movies for a couple of years and, then in the studio for another year. So her touring window is just a few months out of the year.
God, your show is such a great platform for him to
Yeah.
tell his story.
Oh, it's an incredible story. And then Phil X, man, he'll probably be the second episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He,
Phil X, Def Leppard, and he's a lot. He does so much. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's a member of Bon Jovi now.
Bon Jovi. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And his story is just, you can't make it up if you want. I mean, he was doing messenger delivery type stuff while simultaneously selling frozen meat out of the back of his pickup truck.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And now he's a member of Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
And he's done it, but he's played on all those Kelly Clarkson's big records back in the day. Alice Cooper he played with in the studio, and he had never met Alice Cooper at that point. I was like, what'd you think of Alice, man? He was cool. Huh? He goes, I didn't meet him. I just came here to do guitar solos. He wasn't even in the studio.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you organize all this? Like when you're meeting all these people, is this all connections? You know, I mean, you guys are
Mhm.
on the right place, right time.
I don't know who introduced me to.
Especially the
Yeah,
first guy you're talking about, Tommy. I mean, just like I mean, that's crazy that you got a hold of him
Johnny
and
Good. Yeah,
yeah, Johnny, yeah,
I think I just hit him up on Instagram. I was like, "Hey man, I'm doing this show. Let's talk." And what I did for this show, which I wish I would have done for Hired Gun, because
hmm
there's probably 30 interviews that nobody's ever seen of Hired Gun with
wow,
different artists. Yeah, but you
yeah,
can't put 100 people, and you never know what you're going to get unless you interview them. But for first call, I did Zoom interviews first, just to
okay,
see if they had a personality and like if they're charismatic on camera, because those are the things that matter, right? And
yeah,
story's number one beyond anything, but they got to come across on camera really well and be able to deliver their stories. So I interviewed each person, and there's more stuff that we're going to go film for season 2 that didn't make season 1.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you film them, like when they go to your show, how many cameras do you have? Like, what's your crew like? I mean,
Yeah, dude, I
that's
got the
really
best.
cool.
That's I'm glad you said that because I got the greatest crew on the planet. Um, Thomas Corcoran is my sound mixer, the guy that holds the boom up and puts the lapels on people.
Yeah, yeah,
Nobody's better. When we mixed Hired Gun, we did it at Skywalker Ranch, which is like the premier sound mix stage on the planet Earth.
right,
Star Wars, Saving Private, all those big movies. We did it there, and Scott Lewis was our mixer. And documentaries are funny, man, because they can take a couple of years, in your
hmm
different environments and settings, and it's never the same place twice.
yeah, right,
And he goes, "Man, who did your field mixing?" I'm like, "Thomas Cork." And he goes, "Tell him this is the best sounding documentary audio I've ever received in my career." I was like, "Jesus Christ, I'm keeping this guy around." So I've been
keeping
working
this
with
guy
Tom.
around.
Yeah, I've been, now for shit 12, 13 years now. And he did the sound on this. And then my director of photography is a guy named Ed Herrera.
hmm
Fantastic guy. I mean, you
Yeah,
just can't lose with this dude. He did the Ray Parker Jr. movie with me and First Call and a wine show, which I want to talk about as well. But these guys are masters of their craft. And then my makeup artist, her name is Des. Won't use anybody else. Like if she's not available, the shoot's on hold. The same with my crew.
yeah,
So that's just important to have that continuity and work with people that are cool, that you can trust, that they're going to deliver every
yes,
time. And a lot of people don't know. Maybe you do because you do a lot of filming, especially for the Rich Ward thing. It's like audio is probably more important than the video.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
if you don't have great audio, you've got nothing. You can
I
always
just love
fix
having
it.
a good team, like you said. I mean,
Yeah,
that makes the world of difference, and the audio too. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
for
Uh,
sure. Yeah. No, they're great, and I'll do all my movie sound mixing at Skywalker Ranch. We'll probably wind up doing this one there as well.
how far away is that from where you live, Skywalker Ranch?
Well, previously when I lived in Northern California, it was probably about a 25-minute drive. Now it's a 3-hour flight for me.
Right,
And
yeah.
then, yeah, land in San Francisco and go north a little bit. And it's right across the street from James Hetfield's old ranch. I don't know if he still owns it or not, because I know he moved to Aspen, Colorado, but I would always see
Mhm.
James Hetfield around town and
No
cruise around
way.
and all his, oh yeah, and his rat rods and stuff. Yeah, when I first, like, I've met them many, many times. And I had just moved to a town called San Rafael in Northern California. I was walking in getting dog food for my dog and I had my dog with me. And I turned the corner and there's James Hetfield with one of his dogs. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" Because I had no idea you lived there. He goes, "I live here. What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I live here too." So I'd always see him. I saw Lars a lot. We both belonged to the California Film Institute. So we'd go to all these screenings and hang
Oh
out
my
or
god.
whatnot. Yeah, yeah. No, he's cool. He's a big movie cinephile, man.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Music too, right? I mean, he
Oh
knows
yeah.
music and movies. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know 2 of the Metallica members. That's nuts. Who'd you meet first, James or Laura? Did you meet them together?
No, I met well, when I was doing shows and doing the photography thing, I'd
Yeah.
always be backstage and hanging out with him. But I have to say my favorite member is probably Jason Newsted. He's the one I'm closest to. Like we text each other every now and then. He's just the coolest guy ever and a fantastic artist, and I've got a few of his pieces. I just got one back from the frame shop the other day. I got to hang up.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I got one of my best friends. He, I think when he lived in California, he just randomly saw Jason down the street checking his mailbox, and he's like, "Dude, that's Jason Newsted. What?"
Yeah.
And he eventually talked to him. He's like, "He's my neighbor."
Yeah. No, he's cool as hell, man. Yeah. He lives in upstate New York now. So
you keep in touch with everybody like that? Do you just randomly like kind of text each other? And because I know a lot of musicians, and I'm trying to figure out how to keep in touch with them, not trying to bother them, like so for
yeah,
like
like on
holidays.
birthdays or holidays, or
Yeah,
just like, hey man, what are you doing? I heard you were doing this or that or whatever. Or they'll hit me up and be like, what are you up to, dude? Heard you
yeah.
moved. Yeah, I did. It's funny, man. And speaking of cool people, like I had a Super Bowl get together the other day, and I invited
Hmm.
John Humphrey from Seether.
Oh, I love John Humphrey. He's
Yeah, he's the
been in
best,
my
man.
house, been in the show. Yeah,
Yep. And I was like,
we
he goes,
talked
what?
about that.
Yeah, he's like, what can I bring over? I'm like, how about a couple pizzas? And he brings over like 5. Him and his wife came over, and he walks in he does a lot of vinyl selling and
Oh God, I've
collecting
seen it.
stuff.
Yeah, it's behind him. Yeah.
Yeah, so he had put up a thing on the internet of this Kiss Alive, like in mint condition. I'm like, first person that says sold, it's gone. So immediately sold. I want that thing. So I've
Yeah.
bought a few pieces off of them. We trade and collect, and
So you're a
Google.
massive Kiss fan?
When I was younger, yeah. Now it's all about nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
Um, Man, well, one of my first albums I ever got was Alice Cooper, Love It to Death, because I heard 18 on the radio.
Yes.
That's what got
18.
me into rock.
No
And then,
way. That's
oh
what got you
yeah,
into rock?
yeah. This was, dude, that album came out in 73,
Dude, what's funny? I don't mean to cut you off at all, but one of my first album, not the first, but one of the first albums was Alice Cooper's Trash album.
It's
But,
great. It's
dude,
funny,
I
man.
loved that when I was younger, man.
I posted a picture on Instagram a couple nights ago of Alice Cooper walking into the Fox Theater,
Oh, cool.
1990,
Which
and
Fox Theater?
in
You talking about?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Okay,
Atlanta. Oh
great.
yeah.
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 That's amazing.
I
Yes.
think it was probably the Trash tour. And
Oh,
Vinnie Vincent
so
Invasion
cool.
opened up.
No way.
Oh yeah.
Vinnie Vincent.
I put the wrong date on there. I was like 1986 because I thought it was 86, but it was actually 1990. And the reason I know that is whoever administrates Alice Cooper's official Instagram page wrote me. I was like, man, that's a great picture. And his security guard, John, was behind him.
Mhm.
He goes, so cool to see a picture with John and Alice and such a candid photo. Did you take that? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, awesome. He goes, the only thing is that was 1990, not 1986. I was like,
Oh, you're way
you
off.
you would know. So I
Yeah, you would
quickly
know.
changed it. Yeah.
What was the first, like, you've been to so many shows. Man, we need to start a podcast and talk about all the cool
Right.
stuff you've done. What was the first band you photographed live? Do you remember that?
I do,
Or the
man.
first big band too,
Yeah, this was done without a photo pass, by the way. This is just me sneaking a camera in. And I don't know how old you are, how long you've lived in Georgia, but there used to be a punk rock club called the Metroplex on Marietta
Yes.
Street.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard of it. Yep, definitely.
So my first time sneaking a real camera in and getting as close to the stage I could was Megadeth on the Peace Cells album.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I still have those images. I'm gonna go get this thing scanned and upload some of those. But
So how do you sneak in? How do you use your camera as the pass? Like, hey, like
well, it wasn't a video camera. It was a photography camera.
photography. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So back then there was no go. They'll rip your film out of your camera and kick you out. So I was very
Wow.
strategic. Yeah. So what I used to do is just dismantle the lens in the camera and like stick it in my leather jacket and walk in and get as close as I could and put it together and and it's funny, somebody the other day sent me a picture too from the Masquerade, because the old Masquerade used to have a trough
Mhm.
as a barricade and photo pit, literally, like you had to
Yeah, I
step
remember
into
that.
this
Yeah.
trough. And I was shooting Slipknot in 2000, and somebody was from the stage taking pictures in the crowd. And this kid just sends me this picture out of the blue. He goes, "Is this you?" There's a picture of me in the trough, standing up in front of Mick Thompson, who's a beast. Just take it. And I had a flash, which is like forbidden, right? It's like a no-go. But I was young, hungry, and I was like, I know I need to get the shots. And the lighting in the masquerade was fucking hellish. There's no light, there's no spotlights to, you needed a lot of light for film. So I just said, screw it. I'm see what happens, and they invited me to jump up on stage, Clown and Mick had done a proper photo shoot with them that day, like a portrait session.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, fuck it, man, just jump up on stage, dude. Get the shots. And I shot the whole show. Usually it's the first 3 songs, but they invited me to do that. And then I
Yeah, what
ended
year
up,
was that? I think I was there,
it was
probably.
2000.
Yeah, so I remember, were you there? I remember seeing Mudvayne before they were big, and I wanna say Lincoln Park was opening.
I
I
saw
could
Lincoln Park open for Head PE there.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, those are such good days.
Yeah.
But I remember
Mudvayne, yeah, I toured with them on the Tattoo of the Earth tour. They were just breaking too, man.
Yeah,
They were so fierce.
absolutely. I wish that, I wish the Old Masquerade would come out with some kinda documentary or some kind
Dude,
of photo album,
I've
like
had
stuff you've
so many
taken.
crazy. One of the craziest things that ever happened there was I was shooting Anthrax, and we were backstage earlier, and I was doing like a proper photo shoot of the band. And I was shooting them live, and I was right in front of Scotty, and man, all of a sudden I just have soaked with beer. Somebody threw a beer bottle at him, and it hit him. They
Oh,
stopped the
no.
show. They found who did this thing, and they kicked his ass down those big metal stairs in the back.
Oh,
It
god.
was wild. I'm
Yeah,
like,
those stairs collapsed one year on
did
New
they?
Year's.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
they had to rebuild all that, but yeah. You saw
Yeah.
that though?
I
Jeez.
was right there, man. I was like, "Oh my, this is about to get ugly." But they
When
finished the show after they kicked his ass.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
When you first took, when you first went to that Megadeth show and you got your photos done and you went home that night, was it like something like just sparked a fire in you? You're like, "Okay, this is what I'm gonna do." Like, do you feel your calling?
No, not real. Not for a few years. I was doing it mainly just for my keepsake and memories. I had no aspirations of ever doing anything in photography or film ever, nor did I ever take a class or go to school for it. It just happened. I'd say that was Megadeth. When did Peace L come out? 86?
Yeah, I'm so bad with dates, but it's
Yeah, I think it came
yeah,
out in
86.
86, 87. By 1990, I had it's so crazy, dude. There was a guy named David Levy, and that was my day job. I worked for him and his family. They owned a car detailing, bulk wholesale type thing, right? So I was just doing warehouse work, shipping, receiving, stocking.
Mhm.
And he had just gotten a copy of Photoshop. Dude, he was making me fake passes. So I just show up to the venue with this laminate that was fake as shit. Here I am in the photo pit at Lakewood, and this is where I got my foot in the door. It was called Operation Rock and Roll. It was Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Motorhead, Dangerous Toys.
Oh, cool.
God, I can't remember who else. But anyway, it was a picture of Alice Cooper, and he's licking his riding whip. And I got the shot. And after I developed all those pictures, I'm like, you know what? Because people were telling me, man, you got an eye. You need to do something with all this stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm going to put a little book together. So I put a little portfolio together with like 10 of my best shots that I've taken over all those years. And I was sending them to every publication just blindly,
Mhm.
unsolicited. And one of them wound up at Sterling McFadden in New York. And Sterling McFadden was the publisher for Metal Edge magazine. And they were like,
Nice.
well, the editor of the magazine lives in Los Angeles. Can I give you her home address? You can send the book to her. I'm like, absolutely. So I did, right?
Yeah.
Complete mistake, whatever. But I sent it to her, Jerry Miller, rest her soul. She's passed away now. But I didn't know if she liked it or not. And I didn't know anything until I got a letter in the mail from Sterling McFadden. I opened it up, and it's called a picture purchase voucher. And it's them telling you they're going to use one of your pictures and what they're going to pay you for. I think my first photo was of that Alice Cooper shot. It was on
Mhm.
the cover of Metal Edge magazine.
Oh my god, no way.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Do
I
you have
think
this framed? Like, what
I
like
have it somewhere around here. Yeah, I just saw it the other day.
oh,
It will be
wow.
framed. Yeah, but I got paid $60.
Okay.
60 bucks. So I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to make a living doing this?
Yeah, dude.
So fast forward a bunch of years later, probably to 2004 or 5, I was on tour with Slipknot, and we were in Minneapolis. I'll never forget this. And Niels Lozauer, who is my hero rock photographer, he did all the Van Halen stuff, but Van Halen 1 album cover and
Yeah,
Judas Priest Live, like all this stuff. And I
it's
just asked
amazing.
him, I'm like, man, I was like, how how do you how do you do this? Because I mean, I'm touring and making money now, but I don't want to tour forever. Like, and I can't live on $60 a month. Even Rolling Stone, of all people, they called me. It's like, hey, Wailing Jennings is coming to town. Can for Rolling Stone? So I did 120 bucks. There's just no money in
Jeez.
it.
Yeah, there's no money.
No. So Niels Lozauer was cool enough to tell me, you got to get into advertising. Call up Gibson, Ibanez, Marshall, PV, whoever. So I did, and Mick Thompson from Slipknot was cool enough to suggest me to do his photo shoot for his Ibanez ads. I think I did 2 or 3 of those. Then Jim Root, who was at the time in
Yeah.
Stone Sour, I got a call from Orange Amps, which one of their headquarters is in Georgia. And they called me over like, hey, Jim Root gave us your info and suggested you to do a photo shoot for his new ad campaign. Are you interested? And I'm like, of course I am. So we shot that in Washington, D.C. It was a huge production too. They had a really nice budget. I was able to, hire my crew and everything else. And just snowballed, man. All word of mouth. And when you're shooting advertising, back then they had advertising dollars. So you're doing well.
Yeah, so it wasn't that hard to get into advertising. That's the key.
Yeah, what's funny is I'm a huge Megadeth fan, and I've known Megadeth for years and years and years. And I get a phone call from David Ellefson one day, the bass player.
Mhm.
He's like, hey, man, because they were on hiatus. I guess Mustaine messed his arm up and they took a couple of years off. So he still wanted to work. So he became the A&R guy over at PV. So he would go recruit different artists to come join PV's roster. So he's like, how would you like to be our official video photographer guy and do all of our ad campaign stuff? I'm like, yes.
Jeez, the official. That's amazing.
Dude, it was, man, I was shooting.
They're like, "We'll give you $60." I'm just kidding.
No. They had a budget, man. Believe me, it was great, and I was shooting everybody at that time, from the guys in Nickelback to Slipknot to I did Joe Satriani's big
Oh, yeah.
ad campaign, Eddie Van Halen,
Oh my
And what's
god.
cool, let me show you something. This is how cool it was back in the day. You'll trip out. Here you go. I'm not going to show you the phone number, but
Whoa. Oh
yeah,
my god.
yeah. So we text every night. Yeah, dude. It's surreal, man. I pinch myself every day. I haven't done this shit in years. Still pinching myself.
So he would text you? Like,
Couple times, yeah, especially when the photos came out. Dude, great job. Da, 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 da.
how do you respond? You're like, you wait a couple minutes. You're like, okay,
Yeah, I don't want to
all right,
act like,
now I'm gonna.
yeah, because you don't seem too eager like a big fanboy. Even though I was like shitting my pants when I'm standing in front of Eddie Van Halen.
Jesus, dude, I would probably like frame that. I don't know. I'm so into
Yeah.
framing, just to keep everything
Oh, dude, I got a man pit I'm building in here, kind of like what you have there. And
right.
I have so many. I can't hang them all. I don't know what I'm going to do. Rotate them, I guess.
So so many people. Have you gotten any, like, when artists win plaques? Did they ever send you any?
Yeah, actually, I got one from Dolly Parton. I directed her Live in
yeah.
London DVD, and it went platinum. And I'm sitting at home one day in Georgia when I was still living in Atlanta, and I received this giant box, and I'm like, what is this? Saw it was from Nashville. Didn't have her name on it or anything, but I opened it up, and there it is, just beautiful plaque. Slipknot, awarded me one on their first album when it went platinum. They gave me a plaque.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know this, but I was the very first person to get Slipknot in a publication in America.
Okay. What
Yeah,
publication are you talking about? What?
1999. It was when Metal Hammer did a run of for about a year. They licensed the Metal Hammer name and published it here through Easy Rider.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody, I think it was Maria Gonzalez or Jamie Roberts, who were the publicists at Roadrunner, recommended me. So it was more photojournalism. So I was doing interviews with the bands, doing photo shoots, album reviews, concert reviews. It was really cool, especially for somebody who's never written before. I was terrified, so I just did the best I could, and I had some friends help me. But that was 1999 Ozfest, Atlanta. They
Oh
were like
God,
the
I
first
was
band.
there.
Were
Yeah,
you really?
I still have pictures from the show. They were all
Yeah.
wearing orange, and
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think they did like a meet and greet. But you were there in the
Oh,
moment.
yeah.
God
Yeah,
dang, that's
yeah.
amazing.
So that was my first time shooting the band, and then the picture ended up in, full page thing, and that's when Mick and I became close. He's like, "Bro, this is fucking sick, blah, 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 blah." So,
Golly, man, I'm telling you, you gotta have like a book out by now, like some kind of something, man.
what's funny is I've been getting a lot of requests like, "Are you ever thinking about making prints?"
That's what I was
Selling.
gonna ask you. Yeah,
Yeah.
sell some prints.
So that's gonna happen. Yeah, I've
It
gotten enough
is.
requests. Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna take select prints, from Slipknot, or the biggest ones I get requests for are Slipknot and Typo Negative for whatever
I
reason.
love Typo Negative too.
Yeah,
Man.
they were probably my top 3 or 4 to shoot ever, and I've done so many photo shoots with Typo Negative,
Did
man.
you do photo shoots I remember seeing them at the Masquerade.
Oh
Did you do
yeah,
photo shoots there? Yeah.
tons, tons. I couldn't find these negatives, man, but thank God I got the prints of them. But we shot, those the cool brick or
Mhm.
rock, so I threw up
Yeah,
like
the mask. Yeah.
cool color lights and stuff when I was shooting, and I'd get down, and Peter Steele's already, he's like 6'7", right? And he was the greatest, man. We really had a good working relationship.
You did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he was so cool. Just anytime I probably did 10, 15 photo shoots, not just live photography, but like with the band and him alone.
Mhm.
And it was just always just such a pleasure, and just down to do anything. Like we were backstage at Lake. I think they were opening for Metallica, I think, but we were backstage in Lakewood Amphitheater. I had my camera out, just casually, just taking pictures backstage. He goes, "Hey, how about this one?" He picks up an apple, and he's got fangs, so he
Yeah.
just bites into this apple, man. And I'm like, "Oh my god!" At the Tabernacle, they had a pool room upstairs
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with a pool
I
table.
played there. I played with Deftones there. I was backstage with them one time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I gotta name some cool
No.
bands. You're the
You
man. I gotta
wait, what? I didn't even know you perform?
No. I was just backstage. I played pool
Uh,
with
oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with one of the guys, the Frank.
Oh, okay. So, setting up all my lights and stuff, doing photo pictures, and he's like, let's see if this works. And he takes an 8-ball and stuffs it in his mouth.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a great shot, man. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he was always down to do anything cool. I don't know how, but we're at the Omni. They were playing with Ozzy, and we're backstage where all the machinery is and stuff
Mhm.
downstairs. Where I think it might have been the Flames were still around, the hockey team.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was the big
Way
machine
back.
that kept the ice cold or whatever, just this huge mechanism. We decided to shoot there to just look cool and industrial. There was a shovel in the corner. He just, "Let me go get the shovel. Hang on." So he's just hanging on to a shovel. No rhyme or reason, just
You
doing
had
it.
your camera there.
Oh yeah. No, I think I posted that picture the other day too.
So
It's
when
been
you're
so
hanging out
fun.
when you're hanging out with all these artists, I guess the secret is just keep your camera on you. So these kinda odd
Oh,
photos,
dude, that's the key, man. You never know what you're gonna get. I remember being on the very first Ultra Bridge tour, and I had my camera. I was outside, it wasn't even near time for the show. And I'm out there talking to whoever, and all of a sudden I hear this car flying like straight towards us. We jumped out of the way, and there was a cop hanging onto the hood of the car, and the suspect was driving. And what does it do? It crashes into Ultra Bridge's bus.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I had those pictures, but what the funny part is, I never got them developed. And when I moved here, I'm going through all my boxes and stuff, and I found about 4 or 5 undeveloped rolls of film. One of those was that. So there's cops, the suspect with blood coming down his face. I
Oh,
was like, "Oh my
jeez.
god." And then Creed just played here recently, and I text Flip, the drummer.
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Dude, I got to get you these pictures. You're gonna freak when you see this stuff." Because in one of the pictures in the bus is his wife and his baby daughter at the time.
Oh, wow.
With the car careened into the bus, just crushed. I'm surprised
Mhm.
somebody didn't get killed, man. It was crazy. But he freaked. He goes, "I cannot believe you got these." You know.
Yeah, yeah, I wonder if they even made the news, I mean, I never heard
Oh, I'm
anything
sure it
like that
did. Well,
happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was in Kansas City.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool that you find old, like, rolls of film that you
Oh,
never
dude,
How
I mean,
sweet
these
is that?
negatives I went through, I haven't looked at them in 25 years, like the stuff with Led Zeppelin that I shot, AC/DC, I completely forgot
Jeez.
that I shot AC/DC, and there's pictures of Angus Young, and bro, I was like, "Okay, I do remember all that." I think it was on the, Ball Breaker. Did they have an album called Ball Breaker?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was on the Ball Breaker tour, and I think Yngwie may have opened for him. I can't remember. I remember Yngwie wasn't very nice to me.
He's yeah, he's
Yeah.
never nice to anybody, right?
No,
I've
but
always heard that.
it's just he's as Yngwie, right? But it
Well,
was cool.
how did he treat you when you met him?
Well, I didn't I was being a fan, so I went around to the back where the buses were, and there was a chain link fence so you couldn't get to him. I'm like, "Yngwie, can I
Yeah.
get a picture?" He didn't even look at me. He reaches in his pocket and flings a pick, and it hits me in the chest without even looking at me. I still had the pick. Yeah, it was cool.
Man,
I haven't met too many weirdos or buttholes, just a handful.
have you had any bad experiences, like, when you're filming bands where something malfunctions with your camera or you lose a photo or
Yes. So if you go back and just Google Alter Bridge Jägermeister tour, I did that ad campaign for him as well
okay.
as being on the tour. Jägermeister flew me to Washington, D.C. of the 930 Club to do the photo shoot for all the stuff for the upcoming tour. So I get up there and I'm just getting familiar with the digital camera. So we do this big photo shoot for about an hour, hour and a half. And I'm flying home the same. I'm not even staying. I'm flying up there and then flying back home, getting these
Right.
images to Jaeger. So I open up the card. Every image is corrupt, 100%. Like
How does it
nothing came out.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what happened. It just may have been a bad CF card or whatnot or SD card. So I shit my pants immediately, and went into panic mode, crisis mode. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I got to make this right. So I called the people at Jaeger. I'm like, I got bad news, but I'll fly on my own dime and redo the whole shoot myself, So they
Right.
were playing. They're like, that's cool. Let's get with the band first and make sure they can. The band was cool. They were so understanding and cooperative. And if anybody's ever met the Creed guys, they're just the nicest down to earth guys ever.
And you got a great track record, by the way, so you'd be like,
Yeah.
"This never happens. Look at everything I've
Yeah,
done."
exactly. Yeah. So the
This
people at
didn't happen
Jaeger,
with AC/DC,
yeah,
I mean, like
yeah. So the people at Jaeger were super cool. The Alter Bridge camp was amazing. So then I flew to Philly, and I think it was the Congress Club where they played there. And we did the photo shoot. And everything came out. I brought my computer with me. I'm like, maybe just make sure everything came out, and it did. So I salvaged my reputation and career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that go corrupt though? That's so crazy, man. Like everything's run smooth and
Well,
go
you got to
nuts.
remember this was in like at the incubation of digital photography. You
Yeah.
know, cameras back then are like 10 grand. It's like when you bought, your first high def TV, $4,000, and now you can get them for $300.
It's nuts. Yes.
Yeah,
All right, we got to talk about Liberty. I'm gonna have him on my
yeah.
show. I need to find,
Oh,
drummer from Billy Joel, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was
So
on Hired Gun.
Liberty's the greatest, one of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. He's so cool, so funny. Did you get him booked?
No, not yet. I need to follow
Okay.
up on him. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
been lazy
he'll
on it.
do it,
It's
man. He's a busy guy.
amazing that you hooked that up, though. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there sending me emails back right when you
Yeah, yeah,
Reached
yeah.
out to both of us.
So he was the first person that I reached out for Hired Gun.
Really?
Very first,
Okay.
yeah,
He has the best story, by the way, too, of
ever,
Liberty.
man. So my friend Nate, who's drum teching for Jeremy Spencer, we're on tour together with Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I told him about this movie idea that I had. He goes, "Well, you got to interview Liberty DeVito. He's got the best hired gun story of all time. Same
Mhm.
artist, 30 years, and then Billy Joel just stabbed him in the back and cut his legs out from under." And I'm like, "You're right. I do got to find this guy." So I couldn't find any PR person or anybody. So I just messaged him on Facebook. I'm like, "Hey, my name's Fran Strine. I'm making this film. Heard you got a story, and the rest is history. I interviewed him the first time though at NAM at the Hilton Hotel there. And it was a great interview, except he was so angry that I
Oh, why?
thought, well, he was pissed at Billy still, still
Oh,
kind of
okay,
fresh
gotcha.
then. It had only been a couple of years.
Not angry at you, he was just angry.
No, he was
Yeah,
angry at Billy Joel when
okay.
anytime he talked, I want to stab him in the neck with an ice pick. I'm like, and we had to, when you're doing a movie like that, you got to have a legal team. They got to clear everything. They watch back that footage like, well, if you want Liberty to go to jail,
Right.
you'll release this. If you don't, then you need to maybe redo this interview.
Absolutely.
So I called Liberty up. I'm like, hey, man, we got an issue here. You were full of piss and vinegar that day that we interviewed you. And he said some really controversial stuff that could get you in a lot of hot water. And I don't want to do that to you. He goes, it's funny you say that because I told my wife about the interview and that I went crazy or whatever. I'm like, yeah. And she told me I needed to go see a life coach. So I did.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a lot more calm now. I've kind of forgiven it and everything else. And since Hired Gun, Liberty and Billy have rekindled their friendship.
No way. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
He called me like a day after. He was in Florida. Billy was in Florida. And Liberty's like, hey, man, I heard you're here. Would you like to have breakfast? He goes, yeah, let's do it. Water under the bridge. It's great. I'm so happy
Amazing.
for him, man, because that was
Oh, I
30
love
years
that.
of his life. Yeah, And now, a lot of people don't know, but not only did Liberty tour with Billy Joel, but he played on all those albums.
Yeah.
Every one of them, you know.
Man,
Legend.
he was writing what's that song? I mean, he was changing Billy Joel's ideas around, there's a song where it's like,
Yeah, Just the Way You Are.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
that
So
other one, like, Come Out Virginia, like, just the
yeah, yeah,
kinda
yeah. Only the good die young.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was gonna be a
A reggae song, right?
reggae song, and Billy threw his drumstick, or Liberty threw his drumstick at Billy's like, I hate reggae.
Yeah.
He goes, we can't do it. The only thing reggae is like the Jamaica Street exit from the Long Island Railroad.
Yeah.
So Liberty just did his little. He was inspired by a Jimi Hendrix song for that beginning intro, that little shuffle, and then the song
Mhm.
kicks in. So he had so many great stories, man, and he's just such a great guy, great father, great husband to his wife, and just a good friend.
Yeah, and and it takes like it's not he's a great storyteller. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
So with Hired
well,
Gun, I mean, it's just with
yeah.
you guys and his storytelling just came together so perfect.
Yeah, thank you. That was a lot of fun to make. And you're right, man. It's about the story, and that's what you do
Yeah.
really well too. And you bring out some great stories from these artists. So
Oh, thank you,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
I
yeah,
always think, yeah, I mean, I've doing this for 8 years, but you've been doing
yeah.
it way longer, so I definitely look up to you. I
All right.
mean,
Well,
you know everybody.
you know what it is, man. Trust. If
Yes.
the
Okay.
artist trusts you, your subject trusts you, they'll tell you stuff maybe they shouldn't tell you,
Yeah.
which a lot of people did.
Well, they trust you not to do clickbaiting and stuff, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? They
yeah, yeah,
kinda, yeah, they know, yeah. I get
yeah,
the trust thing
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So who's gonna be next on, First Call? I mean, you said you got, what, 8 episodes done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have. God, I wish I had my cheat sheet in front of me, but I don't. So Johnny Good, Tim Stewart, Phil X, Tanya O'Callahan, Paul
Nice.
Jackson Jr.
Wow, okay.
So if you don't know who he is, look his name up. Arguably one of the greatest session guitar players. Plus, he played live. He did all of Whitney Houston's tours.
Oh my gosh.
Man, he played. God, man, with The Weeknd and Ariana Grande, that one big song they had. And this guy's a little, he's in his 60s. mid 60s or what. So you don't ever think about this guy playing with The Weeknd and Ariana Grande.
Dude, he played with Whitney Houston though, man. That's pretty crazy. Yeah. I
Crazy.
love Whitney Houston, man.
Yeah, him. Patty Ann Miller's a drummer. She's played with CeeLo, Beyonce.
Wow.
Yeah. God, I can't remember who else.
I
There's a couple
love
more.
this.
Yeah, it's great, man. If
So
you
what
like
plat
Hired Gun, and I was going to
yeah.
say, if you like Hired Gun and Who You're Going to Call, you're going to love this show.
How can people watch this show?
It'll be
Where's
on
it at?
my YouTube channel.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yep.
Total free. Just go. You have
All
to
you do
go
is
on
just,
YouTube.
that's it, man. That's it. Yeah.
Type in First Call.
First Call, or just search my name, Fran Strine. You'll see all the episodes up there.
When's the first episode going to appear?
In the spring sometime. Yeah, I don't probably, if I was a guessing man, June, because we're still in post-production.
I'm telling you, man, the stuff you sent me is so well done. I mean, it
Thank you, man.
deserves to be like on a huge platform. I mean, this is big.
Well, we're hoping so, but man, that's just all the networks I took it to are like, this is so great, but we don't have a $60 million music budget, so we have to pass. So, now is when I get to be creative and think about how I can not use so much music and still tell the story. Because at the heartbeat of this thing, it is the story of these guys and how they survive.
So you want to avoid using all the labels and everything, trying to get all the copyrights and all that crap?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to do some, pay for a little bit of it, but I'm not going to have $1 million or $2 million to do it. There's ways around it.
And you're pretty smart doing all that, and that's
yeah. So there's fair use. I don't know if you ever use that kind of stuff where you can use a piece of it as long as it's in context. And a lot of people assume, well, can't you just use 3 to 4 seconds? No, if it's not in context, you can't use 0 seconds.
Yeah.
And you still have to get an attorney to approve it. Then you got to send it through the flagpoles up at YouTube. With your E&O insurance. Somebody to get sued. It's a nightmare, man. A lot of people don't know how hard it is to make a film. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I've had to do it twice.
Are you friends with Rich Ward's manager, Mark Willis?
I know Mark Willis really well.
He does all this stuff. I mean, you sound just like him right now talking about that kind of stuff. Because I was going to do a Stuck Mojo documentary a long time ago, and we were talking the same thing. But so Mark Willis, he's Fozzie's manager. Yeah,
he's the one I had to go to before I knew Rich and all those guys to get photo passes and tickets and stuff.
Yeah, you remind me of him a little bit.
Yeah, him and who was it else? Remember Rich Levy? No, they did that Atlantis music conference together.
No, I don't remember. I mean, yeah, that sounds cool though.
Yeah,
that's why you're the man. I don't remember.
Way back in the day. Yeah,
Mark Willis is about as far back as I go, man.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I tried to steep myself as much as I could in the music industry. Back
that's
then.
awesome.
I just was clawing my way. And thanks to the Seven Dust guys, I got my very first music tour because that was my dream to go on a tour.
Oh God,
they were doing Tattoo the Earth, and I could have reached out to the Slipknot guys too, but I was really close with Clint and Morgan and all those guys.
What year is this when Tattoo the Earth? I'm trying to remember.
2000.
So they're in they're partying like that's right before Animosity.
God, man,
Did you partake?
No, man. That's why I didn't get all fucked up. I didn't.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. Never really did. I mean, I smoke weed every now and then back then, but
that's how you survived.
Yeah. The heaviest thing I do now is take a gummy to go to sleep at night. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I had reached out to Clint. I'm like, hey man, who's the promoter on this Tattoo of the Earth tour? And he goes, let me ask my manager and I'll get you the contact info. So his name is Scott Alderman, this crazy New Yorker. And he came up with the brainchild of tattoo, mixing art and music. So there's all these great tattoo artists on the tour. And I just sent him a blind email. I was like, hey man, I'm a photographer. I've always wanted to do a tour. I'll do it for free. Just give me a bunk. I'll give you everything.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, let me see your bucks. I sent him my portfolio. He goes, you're hired. I'm not going to pay you. You got to find your way to Portland, Oregon. I was in Atlanta. I had no money. I took a Greyhound bus. Took me 4 days.
Oh my gosh, you serious?
Non-stop, dude. We'd only stop to pick up more people, drop them off at stations. My legs were swollen like two cantaloupe. I don't know. They were huge. Like it was not safe. But
Jeez.
I showed up that morning of the show, went and got all my credentials, and I was like, I got to take a shower. Well, guess what? We're playing at a horse track. I had to shower in a horse stall with a
I've just
hose.
been 4 days.
It was awful.
Golly.
Talk about paying your dues, you know. And it was cool because the special guest that night was Stone Temple Pilots on this big festival tour.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So I got to shoot them, and it was so cool, man. I'm a huge STP fan.
Oh, me too, man. What you know, I was trying to debate earlier and like which is my favorite album, the first one or the Purple album, and they're
Oof,
so great, you know.
that's tough, man. That is tough.
I mean, that's like, oh man, that's like some of my favorite albums of forever, you know, for
Oh
me.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
well, cool, man. I'm looking forward to seeing this first call you're talking about in the spring. That's gonna be great, and it's on your YouTube.
Yep.
I'll
And
try
people can
to.
find that. It's just I think it's just at Fran Strine 1067. I
You're
guess that's
right.
the
I,
yeah.
I I even typed it in and just to see if it comes up, and it comes up right away. So
Okay, yeah.
Fran
So if people
Strine.
want to watch any of my old videos, I've been putting up Seven Dust. I'm talking from 2001,
I saw
2002.
that. Yeah.
Slipknot stuff that nobody's ever seen before, you know. Hours of that stuff. Double Drive in the studio
Mm.
doing the Blue in the Face album. You know, I did that whole record with them.
All those guys from Double Drive came from
Still Rain.
Still Rain. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny, man? I saw Bevan Davies, the
Okay.
old drummer.
Oh, where'd you see him at?
He played with Zach Wild out here. His band opened. It was like a Zeppelin tribute band that are like, you close your eyes, you can't tell if it's Zeppelin or not. I mean, he's so good. He killed it. And John Humphrey and I went together to go see that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so there's been quite a few shows coming out here that I've been, you know, Trans-Siberian Orchestra came through, and John had never seen them. So I was just like, you want to go? He's like, fuck yeah, let's go, man. Blew him away. If nobody's ever seen Trans-Siberian Orchestra, it's like
I need to, man. That's amazing.
it's like Kiss and Pink Floyd had a baby. Just explosions, lasers. Can I plug one more thing?
Absolutely. Go ahead, man.
Okay, so I'm doing a wine
Oh,
documentary.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be a standalone documentary. We filmed everything, and we have the biggest winemakers on the planet Earth in this documentary. It's hosted, or kind of like your guide, is a lady named Vanessa Conlon,
Uh-huh.
who's a master of wine. So a sommelier is here. A master of wine is at her frame. Like she could take a bottle of wine, just 2 sniffs, and tell you without looking at the label, and tell you the varietal, the region it was grown in, the vintage. Like it's
Jeez.
almost satanic. Like, how do you know this? You know, so she knows she works at Sotheby's. You know, she's the global head of wine for Sotheby's. And
How'd you find her? How'd
I
you
used to
find her?
do a lot of content for the company she used to work for called Wine Access. And she approached me about this idea, and I've been working with her for years, and she's great. She's just on top of it, man. So we're launching an Indiegogo campaign tomorrow to try to raise finishing funds.
Oh, cool.
It's all shot. We just need money to edit and for some archives, and then we're going to put it out to the world and do the festival circuit and all kinds of cool perks, you know, that include her services, you know. So if you have a wine cellar and you're like, what pairs well with all these other wines I have, you know, she's the person to talk to, you know. So I'll send you that link as well.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, super excited about it.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah. I've never been a huge wine guy, but I feel like I have a group of friends that do love wine as far as my family does too. So maybe I should
when I
check it
worked,
out.
when I did all the wine, they would send me cases of wine. I've got probably 8 cases.
And you don't drink, right?
This in my closet. It's like, oh, it's Christmas. Who can I give out bottles to, or
Oh yeah,
birthdays or whatever? Oh yeah, and it's great wine, you know.
Yeah.
But
Have you ever drank before, or
oh yeah, like I'll have twice a year. I'll have a glass of wine with dinner.
Yeah.
but I'm not going to get shit faced.
You're about Rich Ward level of drinking, you know?
Is that what he does too?
No,
Just like,
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
yeah. Like Gene Simmons, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Allegedly, he's
exactly.
never done anything. So yeah, it's great, man. And
So that's cool about the wine show. When did you say that's coming out?
as soon as we finish it,
Oh, yeah, you
I
gotta
think,
get editors and you gotta
yeah.
that's a
So
big thing, man, you know,
yeah,
getting the whole thing edited and everything.
yeah. That's the time consuming. Everything else is cakewalk, man. Doing all the interviews, the pre-production stuff, easy. Post-production, I mean, both Hired Gun and Ray's movie, just anything, just about every film that you look at takes about 9 months to edit. Then you got to go to sound mix, color correction, then you can form everything together. So that's about a year of post to get a movie done.
Yeah, and I a lot of respect for editors, man. I was just thinking of Nathan who edits Good Come. I'm just like, God, man,
Oh man,
just and
it's
just even seeing what you've done is just yeah, that's a skill.
yeah. I tried to edit uh,
Really?
Hired Gun at first, and we'd spent so much money, over the year or so of just filming stuff. I'm like, I got to know when to stand out of my own way. You're
Yeah.
right. Because there's no ego here. I'm just kind of like, I'm not qualified to do this. So I brought on a real Hollywood editor,
Mhm.
killed it. Killed it. I thought he did anyway.
Yeah.
And the same thing for Ray Parker's movie. We had the guy that did the first two Born Identity movies, nominated for Oscar type stuff. And he was great. And he just edited a pretty big film that was on the festival circuit called Strange Darling.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a thriller type thing. It's really good.
No, that's great, man, and, I have to check that out. I was thinking also, the guys that filmed my show did the Jake the Snake documentary that's on Prime.
Really?
I
Oh, I'm
think
gonna
it's
have
on
to check
Prime,
that
yeah.
out.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good. They also did another one with a band that it's kinda like Sugar Man. Do you remember that documentary Sugar
Of
Man, I think?
course. That thing was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They worked on that?
They didn't work on that, but it was something
Uh,
similar. There was a band like that was, that used to be huge. I don't know why I thought of Sugar Man, but that's
yeah,
such a great documentary too.
it's so good. There's I want to go see the Led Zeppelin doc in IMAX.
Yes, it's IMAX exclusive, yeah. Eddie Trunk
Yeah.
was amazing.
Oh, man. I'm not the biggest Zeppelin fan on earth,
Yeah, me either, but they're still
but
Zeppelin, dude.
dude, the story's amazing. The way it was shot, the archives are jaw-dropping if you're into that kind of thing, which I am because I know how hard it is to find that kind of footage. And man, it reminds me when we're trying to find footage of Ray Parker because there's not a
Mhm.
lot of stuff out there. He did, like American Bandstand and the Merv Griffin show and all that.
Yeah.
But his first gig was with the Rolling Stones and Stevie Wonder.
Okay,
He was
yeah.
18 years old, and he's like, "Man, I saw a camera crew at Madison Square Garden. It was Stevie's birthday, and we went up on stage and played Satisfaction with the Rolling Stones, and I'm up there with Keith Richards and Mick Jagger and Charlie Watts." I'm like, "What?" And you say somebody shot this stuff. He goes, "Yeah." So we had a great archive team out of New York called Global Image Works, and I told them about it, and they're like, "Well, let me see what we can find." And sure enough, they hunt down, they found the guy that owned the footage. So he owns it with the Rolling Stones. So it's not just his.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're like, "This stuff has never been seen ever."
Why hasn't it though? Like, they
Because
own it.
they're so tight with it. They don't need it. That's just kind of like they're going to hold it for when they're ready to use it. And I wrote a very nice letter saying why we wanted to use it,
Mhm.
and Ray Parker Jr. has got an impeccable reputation. Like nobody's ever said anything bad about Ray Parker. He's just the kindest person ever. So I sent a letter and they sent it off to Mick and Keith and the guy that shot the footage. And they're like, they're never going to approve this, but we can try. Okay. I was like, tell them we'll offer them $75,000. It was 13 seconds, but it would have been worth the 75 grand. I was like, just tell them we'll give them $75,000 because that's priceless.
Yeah.
Right. And they came back 3 days later. And he's like, well, I got some news for you. I'm like, okay. He goes, they rejected the $75,000 offer. I'm like, fuck, they'll do it for 20,000. just because they love Ray so much. I'm like, what? I was doing the happy dance all around the living room for like an hour, and the footage is in the documentary now. It's insane footage, man.
Oh God, that's so great. I
I mean,
love that story.
dude, you see like Mick Jagger and Ray Parker in the background. He's got this big afro, and like, oh man. The other thing that was hard to get, they did Sesame Street.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder and Ray Parker's back there, and they're playing Satisfaction, and you're seeing Big Bird in the back and Oscar the Grouch,
I
and
love that. Yeah.
oh man, it was so cool. Yeah,
Did you get to use that footage?
yeah,
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 I
yeah,
gotta go
yeah,
back and watch this. That's so good.
yeah. That was a much easier film to make than Hired Gun was.
Yeah,
Much easier. Yeah.
really.
Yeah. I mean, it was just me. I didn't have any partners. My partner in Hired Gun was not an easy person to get along with. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much. I didn't sign an NDA, but I don't want to like ruffle any feathers. But it was a tough movie to make. Hired Gun was
I see. I didn't know
extremely,
that.
oh man, it took 10 years off my life. Yeah. And then working with Ray, and then I knew who not to bring into the Ray Parker
Mm,
Jr. And that's just part of the learning process, right? It's like I'm sure when you did your show at first, it's like,
yeah.
I'm not jiving with this person very
Oh,
well.
the first person that filmed my show was that way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you?
So
I gotta see
yeah,
this Ray Parker Jr. That sounds great, man. I
it's
gotta
on
see it.
it's still on VOD. Sony
Yeah,
Pictures acquired it and they put it up on, I think you can rent it on, it's $3.99 to rent or whatever, like Amazon, Apple TV, a bunch of other places.
I gotta have a link for everybody to see this because that sounds
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I'll send you a link to where they can purchase that movie or rent it for the day or whatever. But it's when people think of Ray, they think of Ghostbusters.
Yes,
That
yeah.
is the smallest thing he did.
That's all I think about. Yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah,
the
dude,
ones. Yeah,
that song defines him the least.
yeah,
The least. Like when you see who this guy played with on record and on tour, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, Bill Lovely Day. Everybody knows Lovely Day by Bill
yeah.
Withers. That's
I
Ray Parker
love Bill
Jr.
Withers. Yeah.
That's Ray Parker Jr. playing guitar.
Oh,
When
I
he
didn't
was
know that. That's so cool.
Yeah, if you look at the back of the album cover, you'll see the whole band and Bill Withers and Ray sitting on the ground eating some watermelon and chicken in the picture, like in shorts, just cross-legged. They took a break to do the photo.
Yeah.
And I'd be sitting at Ray's house. Ray and I became very close. We still are. I lived in the same town in Calabasas, California. And I'd go to his house every day and just hang out. And unfortunately, Bill Withers developed dementia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think his family kind of knew, but didn't really know. But he would just show up at Ray's house out of the blue.
Oh
The
no,
doorbell
really?
would ring. Goes, hey, you get the door? Open the door, and there's Bill Withers. I'm like, holy shit,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Bill Withers. He had the strongest
You saw?
handshake. Man, I
Oh,
met Bill
man.
Withers 10 times, probably, man. Just the coolest.
Oh, I love
Herbie.
his documentary. That
Oh,
his
if you
video
haven't
documentary.
seen it, yeah, you got to see it. Who else? David Foster, Steve Lukather would come
Oh yeah,
over.
amazing.
Herbie Hancock.
Herbie.
Like, yeah, I mean, I'm like my Stevie Wonder. Like, I was only supposed to have about 20 minutes with Stevie Wonder to interview him. We did it
God,
at Ray's
amazing.
house. Yeah. So Stevie Wonder walks in. I don't get starstruck often. Probably Dolly Parton. The first time I met Kiss and Stevie Wonder. That's it. Like,
Yeah, who
and
wouldn't
Alice
be?
Cooper. Yeah, I freaked when I met Alice Cooper. Like it was awful. It was embarrassing. But Stevie Wonder walks in, man. His manager is there, his attorney is there, like his own makeup person, blah, blah, blah. So we're setting up everything, and the manager taps me, you got 20 minutes. That's it. I'm like, yes, sir. We're interviewing, and the guy taps me on the shoulder. I was like, okay, that's a wrap. And Stevie's like, I'm not done yet. He talked to me for an hour and a half on camera. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Just hearing all these stories, man, his love for Ray Parker and what he brought to those albums, it was great.
I can't wait to watch this now. I can't wait. That's so cool.
I actually like it a little better than Hired Gun, if I have to be honest with you. because it's just a singular
That says a
story
lot.
about, yeah, it was a singular story about one person's life. And to think where he came from in Detroit, Michigan,
Mhm.
during the race wars of 1967, I think it was. I mean, he almost got killed. These four cops took him out in an alley, almost beat him to death. And he talks about in the film, but that was his. He got, I got to find my way out of Detroit. And he did.
Mhm.
And look at him now. It's like crazy,
Yeah,
crazy.
man. All right, Fran Strine, I appreciate it,
Yes,
man. This has been fun. We're gonna do another one of these.
so let's do it, man. Yeah,
I
and
need to just like co-host with you more, man. This is so cool.
this has been great, man. And you're bringing back my memories because I've forgotten more than I remember.